It is February, and that means it is Old Dominion University football recruiting season, the grand finale. Monarch Media presents Signing Day 2016. Ted Alexander and the head coach Bobby Wilder, an exciting time of year as you rebuild, reload, and refocus.
Oh, it's a great time of year, Ted. When you think, I've been doing this going on my 30th year now, and the ability to recruit student athletes, to get out, to meet the families, to get involved with the high school coaches, it's such an exciting time because you're saying goodbye to kids you love that are graduating and moving on, and then you're bringing in this new group of guys, this young guys that are excited, they want to learn, they want to be part of it. So it's re-energizing and reinvigorating all at the same time.
How has the recruiting game changed, not only because it's 2016, but because it's now year 3 as an FBS recruiter?
Well, overall, nationally, Ted, it's a little bit disturbing, to be honest with you. Some of the things that are going on right now when you read about coaches sleeping over at somebody's house or coaches driving equipment trucks to park in front of someone. That part of it to me is there's some things we need to do better, some things we need to change. I'm one of the big proponents of the early signing period. A lot of these guys, and typical with us and many schools, you might have 15 to 20 guys that are committed since the summer, yet you got to wait 6 or 7 months for them to sign. And there's coaches that have put ideas out there that, hey, if we're going to offer somebody a scholarship, they ought to be able to take it on the spot. Do you really mean it, or are you going to offer it and then pull it back? And then you get situations where these kids are now, these last 2 weeks in recruiting, some of the things I'm seeing are just unbelievable. Kids that are getting tugged and pulled. The guys from the Power 5 conferences are losing kids, and they're coming to steal our players. And it's really a time we need to evaluate this nationally, because number one, I don't think it's fair to the student athletes in high school. They make a decision, and then all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, here come these other guys tugging and pulling. And then for the institutions like ourselves, some of the schools. So hopefully we'll continue to make improvements in that area. That's the biggest change, Ted, that I've noticed with recruiting is what's happened in that regard.
So let's talk about the class of 2016. Coach Wilder and his staff been on the road for weeks and weeks, just going and trying to reseal these guys, months and months. It's really a 365 type of scenario. So the culmination means the class of 2016, and let's get to it. We begin with a 6'3", 190-pound safety from Baltimore, Maryland, Prince Ejegwu. Talk about Prince.
Yeah, really excited about Prince, Ted. What we're finding now, particularly in our defensive backs, what we're looking for is guys with size, which Prince has at 6'3", 190 pounds. That is a big safety, but tremendous range, Ted. What I really like about Prince is his ability to play sideline to sideline. He can be a middle field player. He can come down in the box because he's going to be big enough and physical enough, and led his team to a 10-1 record. Really had an outstanding season. Size and range are key with Prince.
Drayton Arnold is a quarterback, 6 feet, 185-pounder from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, an early enrollee here at Old Dominion.
Yeah, really, he's made such a great impression, Ted. His first 3 weeks, he's been really successful so far in school and the workouts. The guys have responded to him, and you need that immediate impact at quarterback. You have to make an impression on your guys early when you bring them in, but you look at his high school career, Ted. I mean, he threw for over 8,500 yards, accounted for 104 touchdowns. His senior year, 3,000 yards, 36 touchdowns, and led his team to a lot of wins, which is what I'm always most impressed with a high school quarterback, is does his team win, and Drayton Arnold led his team to a lot of victories.
Elijah Blue, a 6 foot, 180-pound cornerback from here in Norfolk and Norview High School.
Yeah, Elijah, his last 2 years, Ted, just really impressive what he did. I mean, this is a lockdown corner that was always on the other team's best wide receivers, coached by Delton Cotton, who we have a lot of experience with here at Old Dominion. Delton did a tremendous job with Elijah. As a junior, Ted, 54 tackles, 11 pass breakups, and 3 interceptions for a guy they didn't throw at a lot. And then this year helped lead his team to an 11-2 record. Tremendous. You're talking about height, speed, athletic ability, and that gives us an ability, Ted, as we continue to grow, with another corner that can play man coverage, and that's critical as we look to improve in that area.
Jelani Carter is a 6 foot, 1 inch, 190-pound defensive back from Roanoke.
Yeah, and another guy, Ted, who enrolled at the mid-year, just like Drayton Arnold's made a great impression his first 3 weeks with what he's doing in school, the workouts, and you're talking about another guy, Ted, that can play corner that's 6'1", 190 pounds. He's got athletic ability. Keep going back to guys that we're trying to find that can play man coverage. So we're not strictly a zone team. Jelani Carter is another one of those guys. Very excited with him. Another solid recruit from Virginia.
Switching to special teams, Bailey Kate is a 6'4", 218-pound punter from Orange Park, Florida.
Yeah, this was, as you know, Ted, with special teams, as critical a position to recruit as any other. What jumps out the page from Bailey, he was ranked the #1 punter in Florida. He averaged 44 yards per punt as a senior. He had 21 punts that were down inside the 20. As you know, Ted, that affects overall average, those times when you're trying to pin a team down in there. And the other thing I really like, Ted, about Bailey is he played quarterback. He's a tremendous athlete, and you know there are times we like the element of surprise in special teams. You're talking about a very athletic player who can punt and do other things for you at that position.
Back to the offense, Noah Ellison, a 6'2", 185-pound wide receiver from Sicklerville, New Jersey.
Yeah, Noah had a really impressive year this year, Ted. 50 catches, 700 yards, 7 touchdowns. Size, you talk about size. I compare him physically to Zach Pascal. You know, he's right now, he's 6'2", he's a little bit closer to 195 pounds, but I see him growing into the stature of a Zach Pascal. Zach, as you know, he's 215 pounds. He's all muscle. He's athletic and can run. Noah has that ability. Highly recruited player, tremendous athlete, a good route runner, and a guy that when he joins our team, Ted, he's going to be one of our strongest wide receivers. Impressive in every area.
Continuing with the Old Dominion University class of 2016 in terms of signees, Cortez Irvin is a 6'3", 205-pound wideout from Germantown, Maryland.
Yeah, and a really dynamic player, Ted. This is a guy, Cortez, that we're looking at. He's got the frame to grow into an H-back tight end type like Melvin Vaughn, currently on our team, and now you can start to work on those mismatches with linebackers, safeties, and you're talking about a guy that's been a good route runner at wide receiver, came to our camp this summer, made a big impression, but a guy we think can be a multiple position guy for us on offense and add a lot of value, Ted, to our special teams.
Lawrence Garner on the defensive side. He plays linebacker, 6'2", 218 from Columbus, New Jersey.
Yeah, this was a guy, Ted, that I was concerned with being able to hold on to when we were in a battle this summer for his services with Connecticut. He had an offer from Connecticut. He visited there and committed to us early in the season, then had a really difficult injury, an ankle injury that sidelined him for most of his senior year, but we know he'll recover fully from that. He's got good size, Ted, speed, and tremendous range at the linebacker position. And another guy we feel really strongly, Ted, will add value for us in special teams as well.
Parrish Gordon is a safety from Richmond, 6 feet, 212 pounds.
Again, jumps off the page at you, Ted, the size. You know, you're looking at our defensive backs now in 2 years in a row, guys that are 6 feet plus, 200 pounds, just a tremendous recruit for us. Comes from an excellent academic school, very strong student, got the size, he can run, he's physical, and this is a guy that we feel like he can play middle of the field, Ted, because he's got the range, but also a guy that can come down in the box because he's going to be physical enough. We feel like he's got the man coverage skills, but a multiple position guy that'll be another really good special teams player for us as well.
JoJo Heaton is a coach's son. He's 5'10", 170 pounds, a cornerback from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, tremendous athlete, Ted. Good speed. You know, I keep talking about man coverage. We were looking for guys at corner that can play man coverage, particularly with, as you know, some of the wide receivers in our league that are dynamic, that are tall, can run. You need those guys that can run with him. He always covered the best receiver from the other team, played in a really good league, actually played against his dad's team. His dad reminded me they got him once and then they lost to him once. So a really dynamic guy that I think is going to be a big help to us.
Marcus Joyner from Camden, New Jersey, a 6'2", 250-pound tight end.
Another multiple position guy. We were looking for those guys that can play multiple positions. We think Marcus can. He can play tight end, he can play H-back, he can play fullback. He's a guy that can run, he can block, he can catch. He's carried the ball so trying to find those guys I keep using Melvin Vaughn as an example for our fans as a comparison. Guys that as we want to become, Ted, more 11 personnel, tight end, one back, three wides, and maybe even to develop into some two-back personnel. Marcus Joyner is going to allow that, and again, a guy that adds value to special teams because of his size and ability to run.
Next up, it's Zach Lackman, a 6'2", 230-pound linebacker from North Fort Myers, Florida.
Wow, what a senior year he had, Ted. 168 tackles, 21 tackles for loss, 7 sacks, 5 pass breakups. You're talking about a guy, Ted, that averaged 13 tackles per game overall in the season. And what's just as impressive about Zach, very intelligent young man, outstanding student. So he's going to have an ability to process information. He's already proven he's a sideline-to-sideline player with a number of tackles. Really excited to have Zach join our program.
Andrew Lawson, 6'3", 275. He's from Spring Grove, Pennsylvania, an offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman, and as physical a player, I'm sure our fans are noticing now as these clips are running how physical he is with finishing blocks. That's the way he plays, with toughness. You love to see offensive linemen, Ted, that they can stay on their feet, but they have an ability to finish blocks and send a message, as we like to say. This young man's a great young man, good student, but he plays the game with a bad attitude, and we'll take that in offensive line.
Brennan Lewis, a 6'3", 200-pound quarterback from Beaufort, North Carolina.
Oh, what an impressive senior year, Ted. Threw for 4,600 yards and 46 touchdowns, and then ran for another 9 touchdowns. I mean, a really impressive athlete. 8,700 yards overall, through 83 touchdown passes. The one thing that'll jump out at our fans as they notice when they're watching this video or when he comes in, you see him play, just tremendous arm strength. His arm strength reminds me of Thomas DeMarco and how Thomas could throw that ball on a line from one hash to the opposite sideline. And the other interesting side note here, Ted, is actively being pursued as a major league pitcher. Just tremendous ability. We're fortunate in that the family wants him to go to college, wants him to get an education, but this is a multi-sport guy who's been very successful.
Scott McClooney is a 6'1", 185-pound wide receiver from Gaffney, South Carolina.
Very impressive back-to-back years, Ted, between his junior year and senior year. This year and his senior year against tremendous competition in the league he plays in. Had 72 catches for over 1,100 yards. 7 touchdowns. That was coming off a really impressive junior year. Has outstanding hands, really good athletic ability, and you see on the video the ability to run after the catch, which is critical.
Back to the defense, linebacker Brent Priester. He's a 6'2", 215-pounder from Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, really good size, Ted. The recruiting of Brent Priester reminds me so much of when we recruited Rashad Cower. The kids in the city that are hard to get to, they're hard to find. Really excited that we found this young man because he is a physical, smart player. What really jumped out at me in his video, Ted, is how well he plays downhill against really good competition. He's a read and react guy that gets to the ball in a hurry. 107 tackles in his senior year, and that anytime you're over 100 tackles, like we had TJ Ricks this year, over 100 tackles, you can tell that person's got a nose for the ball, and Brent certainly does.
Juwan Ross is a 6'2", 270-pound defensive tackle from Daytona Beach.
Yeah, unfortunately for Juwan, his senior season was cut short due to a wrist injury. He only played in 5 games, Ted, but in those 5 games, he averaged 8 tackles a game, which for an interior defensive lineman, you see a guy get 3, 4, 5 tackles. That's impressive for an interior guy. They're always blocked and they're usually double team, and he's in a very good football league, averaging 8 tackles a game before the injury. He's got a tremendous upside.
Now we go back to the offense and a running back from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Brandon Sinclair, 5'10", 200 pounds.
Yeah, what impressive numbers he put up, Ted, in his career. 800 rushes for 4,600 yards. So he's averaging 6 yards a carry, 60 touchdowns, tremendous ability to catch the ball as well. And when we look for guys at the running back position at Old Dominion, because we have traditionally been a lot of one back, not only do you have to run the ball well and have the ability to catch it because you're an extra receiver, you got to be able to block and pick up the blitzing linebackers, and those are all things we like, Ted, in what we saw in Brandon Sinclair.
TJ Stormont is hopefully going to be doing a lot of blocking. He's an offensive lineman, 6'6", 315 pounds, out of Statesville, North Carolina.
This is a duck through the doorway kind of guy, Ted. I mean, you talk about height, size, tremendous strength, incredibly intelligent. I mean, he's a student in the Tyler Compton mode, in that he'll get multiple degrees here, Ted. And you like to have that combination of size and strength and tremendous intelligence, because we ask a lot of our offensive linemen to read and react during the play, to change within the system when a quarterback makes an adjustment, and makes an outstanding presentation, Ted. Really excited for TJ.
Isaac Weaver, another duck through the door kind of guy, 6 foot 6 inches tall, 275-pound offensive lineman from Marietta, Georgia.
I think we've got a new recruiting line, don't we, Ted? Duck through the door. Really impressive. And what I've really been impressed most with Isaac since this summer, Ted, he's just continued to grow. He's getting bigger. You can see his development from the weight room. This guy is really solid in all areas. You can see on the video. He's got strength. He's got really good athleticism, the ability to move, get downfield and block, and tremendous technique. And another guy that you just see finishing blocks on the video. Really exciting for Isaac and his future.
Sam White, 6'3", 235 pounds, a defensive end from Orlando.
Yeah, what jumps out at you about Sam when you're watching the video, you see the level of competition, Ted, is this year playing against the players he went against, particularly the tackles he was matched up with. 11 sacks, 20 tackles for loss, 4 pass breakups, and a couple fumble recoveries. And when you're doing it at the level he did, you see a guy making game-changing plays, and that's what we need to continue to develop. If we're going to be successful in Conference USA, you've got to have those edge rushers that number one, force double teams, and number two, have the ability to make game-changing plays, and we certainly see that in Sam.
Jordan Young, 6 foot 3 inches tall, a linebacker, 210 pounds from Coatesville, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, when you think of Jordan, Ted, a couple things jump out right away. You think of athleticism and intelligence. This is a guy who played quarterback on a really good team this year, threw for 3,000 yards, 20 touchdowns, ran the ball for 700 yards and 20 touchdowns. So you see the athleticism, a two-way guy at the level of football he was playing. That type of athleticism at linebacker and the size he's going to be, really smart, good athleticism, and a guy that brings a lot to the table, not only, Ted, on defense, but with special teams.
Of course, the overall story for the class of 2016 won't be written for another couple of years, but if you had to sort of put a sentence to describe this class, how would you describe these guys?
Overall, Ted, I really like, number one, the level of intelligence. There's a lot of really smart kids in this class, academically and football-wise. The guys that could play both sides of the ball, guys that can play multiple positions. When you look at the list, Ted, from top to bottom, you see every position's covered. So the guys did a good job on our staff of getting to every position. Now, I need to remind people, this is our fourth recruiting class at FBS. We still have one more to go to complete the roster with FBS players. But what we're finding, Ted, is now that we got that class in 2013, our first one, then 14, 15, here's the class of 16, is we're starting to create more competition. And that's what this class will bring, Ted. These guys will bring in and make it much more competitive in practice, which will make us a better team.
Coach, you and your staff have put months of work into this class of 2016. Congratulations on getting to this point.
Thank you, Ted. A lot of fun, a lot of tremendous support. Nothing helps us more in recruiting than the fact we're talking about all the sellouts and the fan support and what the people do when our kids get here, how welcome they are into the community. So a big shout out to the 12th Monarchs and all our staff, Ted, on campus. Everybody who put in countless hours, gave up weekends. Our two guys here behind the camera that are always here supporting the team. We couldn't do it without just the unbelievable level of support we have.
There you have it, recruiting day, signing day for 2016. For the coach, Bobby Wilder, I'm Ted Alexander for Monarch Media.